Welcome to the show. My name is Karen Holton. I am an ET experiencer and ambassador, an ascension coach, a direct channel, a shamanic guide, and I'm the host of Aliens and Astrology. Be sure to check out more of my unique content on my website, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, and my YouTube, Odyssey, and Telegram channels, Karen Holton TV. I can also be found on the Forbidden Knowledge News Network, www.forbiddenknowledge.news. My paranormal experiences have taught me to replace my beliefs with working theories, which evolve over time. My co-host is Dave Petrella, and although we hold two different viewpoints, we both see things from the same broad perspective, and we are both passionate about the ascension process.
Hi, I'm Dave Petrella. I'm an astrologer, biologist, spiritual guide, and Oak Island theorist. You can find me on Facebook and YouTube at Dave Petrella, and on Instagram at Dave Petrella12. Please feel free to send me an email through my YouTube page. I'm happy to join Karen in our search for truth. We can find the answers we're looking for about health, science, extraterrestrial intelligence, and many other related topics. We're glad to have you join us today for the show.
Hi, everybody. Dave and I have an exciting show for you today. As you can see, Dave is still on the road, but he's almost done his road trip. And in one of the future episodes, we'll take a look at some of his interesting discoveries, the research that he's doing. What I love about your work, Dave, is that you do primary research. You don't just watch other people's videos and then present it as your own information. You actually go out there, travel, visit sites. And, I think that's really excellent because not a lot of people are doing the primary research. So I want to welcome everybody back to the show. And Dave, so glad you could make it today. And the subject for today is shifting realities. Now, I have a lot of experience with shifting realities. And it's unbelievable the results I've had. Believe it or not, I have been doing this for years. And the only time it doesn't work is when I just don't do it. So I'm going to teach everybody the 4 different methods that I use. And I'm going to talk about what happened and how each method helped me to shift my reality. There's no other way to really explain it because it's quite uncanny and even unbelievable what I have been able to do. So I think, again, it goes back to us not realizing how powerful we are as spiritual beings and how connected we are to unseen forces. You can call it God or angels or even just your higher self. And I really encourage everybody to get in touch with your higher self, with whatever you perceive God to be, and trust that force so that you can shift your reality and we can bring about, hopefully, the new positive timeline and paradise to Earth. Before I get started, Dave, did you want to say anything?
Hey everyone. In the West, the United States, it's pretty green, which is probably a little uncharacteristic. You kind of expect probably 5,000 feet of elevation here. You'd expect to have some color, but that's not the case. And for me, it's actually making my camping a lot easier. So, I'm not complaining. It's pretty good.
Good news. And for the folks out there, We have had some audio problems, but we'll do our best to clear that up and so that you can hear what Dave has to say and me. So I'm going to start off with the very first method that I discovered for shifting reality. And it's very, very simple. And the method I used was prayer and faith. That's all I used in the circumstances and the outcomes that I'm now going to tell you about. So we're going to go back to 1989. And in 1989, my husband and I moved to a very remote island, a small island off the coast of a large island that's off the west coast of Canada. And we moved up there lock, stock, and barrel into this beautiful old heritage home. And we didn't know anything really about buying homes, so we didn't really ask the right questions, and we didn't really do the research we should have done. So that was a lesson, a hard lesson learned. Anyway, what happened was we moved up there with our two children, both preschool, and my husband stayed for 4 days and then he left. He left us without water. He left us without food. He left us without firewood. He left us without money. And he was eager to get back to the coast, or the mainland on the coast, because he had met someone else. And there wasn't a damn thing I could do about it. So our lives were a big struggle right from the very beginning, being on that island. But things actually got even worse. The sewer system was not a sewer system as I had been accustomed living in cities before this. Really, there was just a pipe that ran from under the house out to the beach, and the waste material just dumped onto the beach. I was horrified because part of the reason why we bought the home and planned to move there was because we were surrounded by beautiful beaches and you could see the water from our house, and it was just so lovely and entrancing, really. But then when we got there, of course, we found out that there was a problem. So here I am coping with, having to use firewood for heating the home and trying to fit into a culture that was very different than anything I had been involved in before, and didn't have a lot of help. I had had recent surgery, so I wasn't in good shape to do a lot of lifting, but those were the circumstances and we did what we had to do. Now, one day, what happened was the sewer, so-called sewer, the pipe that ran underneath the house out to the beach, somehow got plugged. I don't know if it was roots from trees or what, I don't know, but it blocked up and then the sewer backed up into the basement. And so I made some calls, including the health inspector, and the health inspector said, you got to get out of that house. That is not healthy for you and your children. At the same time, I contacted our insurance company. And I got to tell you, folks, insurance companies are not there to pay you money when things go wrong. They're there to prove that they don't have any responsibility to help you, and they get out of it any way they can. So what happened, strange how it all happened, my husband and I dealt with an insurance broker, well, my husband at the time, an insurance broker. What the insurance broker did was on our renewal date, they would look around for a better insurance deal for us and then automatically just switch us from one company to another to give us the best deal. Unfortunately, how this played out with my beautiful home that was now basically uninhabitable, the insurance company that I was with when the damage occurred was not the same insurance company that was there for us once the damage from what happened actually occurred. And so the two insurance companies argued back and forth and said, no, we're not paying for any of this. And I was pretty stressed out, I got to tell you. It was a very hard life for me being up there. on my own with my 2 preschool children, not having money. It was really, really, really super stressful. So I thought, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And I had no choice but to follow the orders of the health inspector and move my children and myself very quickly over to the Big Island and leave our home. And we went to the Big Island. We couldn't find a place to live. All I knew is that I wasn't allowed to go home. My kids and I were literally living out of my car until I found an apartment. And then we rented an apartment. And then a few friends from the Big Island helped me to move my stuff over to the apartment as much as I could. But there was, and then some friends and family came up from the Lower Mainland to also help me complete the move. But before that happened, the rats moved in. I had no idea what that would be like or that would even happen. And the rats took over the home and they destroyed all my property that was left in the home. Well, almost all. Like I said, a friend and a relative came up from the Lower Mainland of the Vancouver area to help me move my stuff over. And so they came up and they helped rescue me. Basically, we moved as much stuff that we could salvage over to the apartment. But in the meantime, the rats were just going nuts and they were eating everything. They were pooping and peeing on everything. There wasn't even 2 inches where there wasn't rat shit. And that stuff is really toxic. And I didn't know what I was going to do. I just didn't know what I was going to do. And I got a call from a lawyer who said, no, I got a call from the insurance broker and the insurance company. And they said, the best we can do is get you about $800 in money for you to fix your problem. I went, there's no way I can do that. It needs somehow a sewer system put in or a septic system put in. That's going to cost me a lot more than $800. And my former spouse wasn't going to pay for any of it. He didn't care. He had his life in the Lower Mainland and his new girlfriend, and that was that. So yeah, I was incredibly stressed. I didn't know what I was going to do because we had a mortgage on the home and the mortgage was not even close. I mean, we'd only paid into it like for 6 months. So we had the full mortgage we were responsible for. I had this home I couldn't live in. And it got to the point where I just couldn't handle it. I just couldn't handle it. And so what I did was I prayed. And I just asked God as I perceived it to be back then and said, I can't handle this. I really, really need your help. And I don't want to be worrying about it. So I want to just leave it in your capable hands and let you fix this problem for me. And I had faith that that would indeed happen. And so we were living over on the Big Island at the time. And I still didn't know what I was going to do, but I got on with, repairing my life because, having a breakup from your partner, the father of your children, that's very stressful. Having no money. I literally had a neighbor go out and shoot me a small black bear and brought it over. And together we skinned it. And the meat is what we had to eat. That was it. That's all we had. For quite a bit of time until the fishermen started bringing in salmon. And in remote locations, fishermen will often do what they call food fish. So the first thing they will do is go out and get a big haul of fish and come in and make sure everybody has food. Then they go out and they fish for profit. So I was very fortunate that I had some fish, generally pink salmon or halibut, like they were very good to me. And of course we had bear meat. And what I did was I canned it. I learned how to can the salmon and the bear meat. And a little side note here is I went, to keep my mind off what was going on with the house, I traveled down to the mainland and to Washington. I had friends there. And I knew a lot of low income people who could barely afford food. And I took canned bear meat and canned salmon and fed a lot of people. And that's what I was sort of busy doing because I just couldn't cope with what had happened with my other aspects of my life. So I'm trying to get on with this story, but you need to know how bad it was so that you can understand what happened and what a miracle the solution was for me. So anyway, I get a call from a local lawyer, and he says, I've got, I can't remember the exact amount. It was between $800 and $900 Canadian. He says, I've got this money that's been released by your insurance. I'll just hold on to it. You can tell me how you want me to disperse the funds. I said, okay, thank you. And then about 2 weeks later, this is about, I don't know, not long after we left the house, once we resettled on the town in the Big Island. And I get a call from a guy. He says, you don't know me. Coincidentally, his name was Dave too. He says, you don't know me, but you know what? I heard about what happened with your house. And I was walking past the house, and suddenly I got what I think was divine inspiration. And I knew exactly how to fix your sewer system. I knew exactly how to get rid of the rats, and I knew exactly how to restore your home. But he says, I'm not going to do it for nothing. I says, well, I only have, and I quoted him how much I had, between $800 and $900. I said, I can't pay you any more than that. He says, oh, that's more than enough. No problem. And he got busy fixing the house. Somehow he unplugged the sewer system so that it could free drain, and he got rid of all the water and the gross material, waste material that was backed up into our basement. And he fixed all that. He called me back and he says, I got that all fixed. I said, well, the health inspector won't approve us to move back in, even with that being fixed, because of all the rats and all the rat poop and pee, and you have to restore your home back to living conditions. I went, okay. So the guy named Dave called me back again, and he says, I want to do the everything you need so you can move back into your house. I says, okay, but I don't have any more money than what I told you I had. He says, no problem. So he got some kind of rat poisoning, and he put it in, and he killed all the rats. And once they were gone, he then sterilized everything. And what had to happen, the rats moved upstairs. They weren't just in the basement anymore. They were on every floor. There was 3 floors to the home. It was a beautiful old heritage home. Just broke my heart that we had to leave it. So he consulted with the health inspector, and he sterilized it. And he didn't have to just sterilize it. He had to sterilize not just the floors and all the surfaces, but even the walls halfway up had to be sterilized. And he did all of that. He did it all. And then he cleaned it all up. Then he took all the stuff that was ruined by the rats and he hauled it to the dump. Then he calls me back and he says, Karen, I got everything clean, everything's done, but I've noticed you need repairs. The rats have actually eaten right through some of the walls. They've ruined the electrical system. He says, I'd like to finish the house if that's okay. I says, Dave, that's fantastic. But the problem is I don't have any more money to give you. He says, that's not a problem. He says, I noticed you have a bicycle in the backyard. He says, I need a bicycle. So let's trade for the bicycle. I went, oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you. So the funny thing about this is Dave was not very well liked or well respected. People kind of thought he was a bit of a nutter because he had this connection with God. He had this connection with his intuition. But, he really came through for me. So then I get a call from the lawyer, and the lawyer says, there's this guy named Dave, and he wants me to disperse the funds to him. He says, he fixed the house. I said, yes, he absolutely did it. I didn't see it. I just believed him. I just believed him. I said, yes, please do give him the money. So the lawyer gave Dave the money, and Dave took the bicycle, and we were even, and the house was perfect again. And I can't believe how amazing that was. What a burden that was lifted from me. But there's even more to the story. So at this point, I kind of didn't want to move back because it's really hard living in a really rugged area. You know, like I said, I had recently had major surgery and complications to that. I wasn't strong. I wasn't, really geared to be able to lift, firewood and do all of that. And I was just so upset by what happened that I decided with my husband, my former husband at this point, to sell the place. So in isolated areas, houses sit on the market for God knows how long. Nobody buys them. They just sit there. And I talked to the realtor. There's only one local realtor, and she said, yeah, I'll list the house and I'll see if I can sell it. And she says, but be prepared. It'll probably be a couple of years. I says, well, that's okay. And my former husband was really pissed off because we weren't living in the house and he was still having to make the mortgage payments. He didn't help us with anything else, but he did help us with the mortgage payment. And because I had to find the funds to, pay for the apartment and the kids and everything. So anyway, long story short, that house sold within 2 weeks. They got exactly our asking price, which was exactly what we needed to pay off the mortgage. So the house got sold, completely repaired. The house got sold, and everything was good. And that was the most amazing and profound experience that taught me the value of prayer and faith. So in those circumstances, that's all I used. And that's why I'm so absolutely confident that there are higher forces that are there to help us. All we need to do is ask. And it was a phenomenal experience. Yeah, it was tough. It was really stressful. And there's probably more that I'm leaving out of the story, but it was absolutely miraculous, that burden that was just lifted from me. And all I did was one prayer, maybe two, and just kept faith that I was going to be okay and things were going to work out. Dave, do you have anything you want to add to that, or any questions you want to ask me?
Yeah, that's great, Karen. I just want to say that, when you have one pointed intention and one pointed focus, especially when it's coming from a place of humility, in the heart, that's when you really have serious manifestation. And every single time that I've had that, it does come to fruition in some way, shape, or form. Now, whether it's going to be the way that you really want it to be, or maybe the way the universe needs it to be for you to, to be able to make progress or to grow, or sometimes to enforce karma, then, we have to be open to that with humility too, because it's not always about what we want, and in my life, the things that I thought I wanted, it actually turns out that the universe is trying to give me something better than that. And for my personal experience, it's sort of an interdimensional gift. So it's not all going to be received right now, but the final gift will be a lot larger than anything I could have probably hoped for on Earth. So I think that's great, Karen, and I agree with you. Whether it's prayer or faith or quiet meditation or taking a walk in nature, the way I kind of do it, I do sometimes say formal prayers, but more often what I do is I just hold a quiet, kind of a quietness in the mind and in the heart, and I let the intention kind of permeate, if you will, and it will it reaches all the parts of the universe. I think everything we do actually will, for the most part, reach that. But you really have to get into that quiet state and the humble state, because if the universe feels like you're doing it for self-gain or for some other reason, it's really what it should be, in my opinion, is for the betterment of ourselves and the betterment of our neighbors and the rest of humanity and everything. we've got to try to get to, I think, a large part of why we're doing the podcast is to try to get people good information and to get people to a better place and a better version of themselves. But yeah, that's a great story, Karen, and it just basically, when you think there's nothing you could possibly do and it could not possibly work in any way, shape, or form, people come through for us. And I also think that if we make decisions with more of a moralistic focus, for me, ideally as a society, that would be wonderful. I don't know if I'll be here if and when that happens, but things take care of themselves really, really well when you do it that way. It's, I help people because, first of all, I want to. Second of all, some people need help. Third of all, I'm trying to basically contribute to the progress of humanity as much as possible and moving in better directions. So if everyone's doing it for those reasons, then actually I believe we will all be profitable, probably even more profitable than we could have ever imagined. And in the same time, we're not kind of putting bad energy out into the universe, and your karma stays clean that way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And like I said, what I did is I put it in my higher, self or God's hands. And then I left it and I got busy doing good work, taking care of my children, taking care of myself. After my husband left, I started using alcohol to self-medicate. I had to take care of that right away. That was a big job. That's what I was busy doing, that and also distributing food to people all over the Northwest. So I was busy doing good things. I wasn't even thinking about it. And I had no ulterior motive for asking for help. I just was desperate. And I just really needed the help. So I would agree with you, Dave. Heart, your intention, your heart condition, your reason for doing it. I also think that it was the universe's way of moving me back down to the lower mainland so I could be closer to support systems and things like that. So, I don't judge what happened. It was difficult, but I think it was all to good purpose, just like you said, Dave. So the next method for swapping realities or changing realities, again, this was a change in reality. I went from, being in dire straits to being completely okay within a fairly short period of time. I never could have dreamed that my reality would shift that much. So the second method I want to tell you, again, super, super easy, super easy. So about 5 years ago, I moved to Red Deer, Alberta from the West Coast. I'm a bit of an island girl. And I got here and I found that the culture was so different. On Vancouver Island and even parts of the lower mainland, people are very open to diversity. Diverse ways of being, presenting, and thinking. And I moved out here and it was like going back 100 years. I was quite shocked. So the family and friends that I thought that were going to be supports for me here, not so much. Everybody wanted me to change and be part of a hierarchy where I'd be at the bottom, and I didn't like that very much. And so I took a look at my life and I went, oh my God, up to this point, I have not been successful at any of the things that I wanted to accomplish. Even my YouTube channel, it took me 5 years to get 53 subscribers. I kid you not. Like, I worked hard producing videos and just doing everything. And I just felt my life was really unsuccessful. Now, I find that when I want to ask the universe for something different, I try to keep it as vague as possible so that the universe can bring it about in a way that's best for my highest good and for the highest good of society and humankind. So I decided to use the water glass method. It sounds hokey, but I swear it works. And this is what you do. And this is what I did. I took 2 clear glasses water glasses, drinking glasses. And in the first glass, I put just the word written on a piece of paper and taped to the side of the glass. I put the word unsuccessful. In the second glass, I then taped a piece of paper to it that said successful. And I wanted to go from being unsuccessful to successful. And I was okay with however the universe wanted to manifest that for me. Because my ultimate goal and my intention is to be a blessing to humankind and to myself, and, to do the work that I'm spiritually motivated to do. So the first glass that was unsuccessful, I poured water into it, half full. And I looked at the glass and I went, okay, Karen, your life in some ways has been very unsuccessful, and that's going to change right here and right now. So I focused on the glass and put my experience as I was perceiving it kind of focused into the water. The second glass that said successful, I looked at it and I went, okay, as soon as I do this ritual, everything is going to be different. I am now going to become the successful Karen that I always wanted to be. So I took the water from the first glass and I poured it into the second glass. So the glass that said unsuccessful, that water got now poured into the successful glass. So again, I looked at the water, I looked at the word successful, and I said, now starts my new life, which is going to be really successful. And then I took the glass and I drank the water. So 2 glasses, 2 different words. The first glass, half full of water, intention put on it, poured into the second glass, refocused a new intention, and then I drank the water. And then I put the glasses away. Well, I washed them and then I put them away. That's all I did. That's all I did. And almost immediately, I would say within about probably a year, I started noticing differences. Now, what I want to say about changing or shifting realities is most things follow a spiral. So when you're starting, you start in the middle and you're just a dot. You're not going anywhere. You're not getting anything that you want, but that's a starting point. And then as we start to go around the spiral, what happens is we're getting larger and larger. And then you could also think of this as Phi and Fibonacci sequence, right? The circle, the line gets bigger and bigger as it goes around and around. And that takes time for it to get going. And so what I did during that first year or so when it took time to get going is I just started to look for what I call just noticeable differences. This is absolutely key. If you don't want to forget it, go write this down. Just noticeable differences, because just noticeable differences will tell you and told me that things were indeed shifting and that things were indeed happening. And so anyway,
those are good benchmarks, Karen, right? You can track your progress by watching the benchmarks.
Absolutely. And once we notice those just noticeable differences, then what happens is we are encouraged because we can see it's coming, and we can look at different options that will help enhance the goal that we're looking for, help us to get there quicker and smoother. And that's actually called stacking coincidences. So what you do is you start just noticing these things. You go, oh, it could be a coincidence. Oh, it could be real. But you start collecting those, and accepting them, that your life is changing. Anyway, long story short, everything changed for me. I became what I consider a successful podcaster. I have people who send me letters telling me what a difference I've made in their lives. I've been able to get over 1,000 YouTube subscribers. And now look at all the, on my back screen and on the thumbnail, look at all the different platforms that I'm now broadcasting on. And of course, eventually it led to this show with my co-host, Dave Petrella, which again is almost a miracle in itself that I met Dave. A mutual friend of ours introduced us, and the rest is history. We're just going for it here with this show. So that's the water glass method, and it absolutely worked, and it tied into some of my other reality shifting experiences. So I indeed shifted my reality from being an unsuccessful person to a successful person. And I let the universe decide what that would look like. What would success look like for me? I mean, I'm like a lot of people. I'm used to failure. I'm really good with failure. You just pick yourself up, dust off, and go for it again. But success, I hadn't had a lot of success. So a couple of things. I had to believe that I was worthy of the success I wanted. And I had to believe that it was possible. And I had to feel the fear of, oh my God, what if I am successful? Because that brings a whole bunch of different challenges. So another thing I want to say too, before I get into some of my other experiences is, oh my gosh, I just forgot what I was going to say. Guys, I'm getting old. I'm 66 years old. I can't believe it, but I'm successful. Oh, what was I going to say? I don't know. Do you have anything you want to add while I'm trying to remember what I was saying, Dave?
Yeah, I could talk about water a little bit. It's a wonderful interdimensional medium. And actually, there's a lot of traditions that talk about water and metal as being the two essential elements to have time travel or to have interdimensional travel, which for me, can be pretty similar sometimes. And the other thing is that it records information very well because of its structure. And I think you had a guest on, Karen, right? And she did a wonderful job with this topic. Some of the other ways you can...
Veda Austin, Veda Austin, VEDA Austin. I really recommend people check out her podcast. It's phenomenal. Anyway, sorry to interrupt, Dave. Go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did a wonderful job. And some of the other ways you can see this in action is by, you could either, say some harsh words with a cup of water in front of you and put that in the freezer. This is one of the more remarkable things I've seen. And you see that it kind of disrupts the structure of the water. And sometimes it will even show you, maybe unpleasant images or something. And on the other hand, if you say a prayer, you say something nice to it, you look at the beautiful fractals that come out, or the flower patterns, or what have you. So these things are, and this is what I really like about in terms of how I approach things is it is scientific. It's always scientific, but it's also spiritual, and they do come together. They always come together, and actually they always have come together. The group of people I think that do the best job would be the ancient Indians when it comes to this information. They're not afraid to bring the two concepts together. And I think that's what one of my goals is to do, is to bring, you could say, religion or spirituality back with science and show that it's actually the same thing and they actually do work together.
Yeah, that's great, Dave. Really great. Thank you for sharing that. Now, I just remembered what I was going to say previously, and that is, when we shift realities, I notice, because I have quite a bit of experience with it, that I don't go from a dystopian reality to a utopian reality. Although the shifting definitely takes place, there are still challenges that are our life lessons that are woven into the fabric of reality. And so you can't do a reality shift as a way to cure or put an end to whatever it is that we're working on while we're on planet Earth. Those lessons will still come to us no matter what. And another thing I want to say is it's really important for people to not only to deal with their challenges in the here and now, but carry that work with you into the new reality so that you're actually, creating a positive outcome. And although it seems that on this planet, We have many challenges. It seems to me, honestly, as being soul development, a way to develop our soul, a way to learn, a way to make a difference. And I think it's really important to keep that in mind. Another thing, Dave, too, is Dr. Emoto. Please, everybody, Google Dr. Emoto. He did amazing work. He has unfortunately recently passed away, but his work continues. And he's famous for what they call messages in the water. So what he did was he took glasses of water or jars of water and he put labels on them, like what you said, Dave, positive labels and negative labels. Then later he froze the water and he looked at it under a microscope, and the crystalline structure of the water changes every time you put an intention on it by using words. And this is really important. People are now starting to realize that words are spells. That's why they call it spelling. The words we use, the thoughts we think are changing the water in our bodies. And Dave, what percent of the body do you think or are you aware of is actually made up of just water?
Thought it was about I thought it was like 80% or something. I could be wrong,
Yeah.
but it's a very, very high amount.
Exactly. And so the things we're thinking about, the things we're doing, all contribute to our health, our spirituality. And Dave and I are really into the whole ascension process, which is not some hard to understand mystical guru type experience. It's there available to all of us, once we can hold the frequency. So one of the ways that we can hold the frequency, is to have, I guess a positive outlook. Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to run around happy all the time. No, shit happens. Shit happens for everybody. But it's what we do with that crap that kind of seals what kind of human being we are. So before I get into the next technique and experience, Dave, do you have anything else you'd like to add for the viewers?
Can you just say that last sentence again, Karen?
Sure. I said, before I move on to the next method or technique and experience, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's just I was going to mention actually the ether, or you can call it the Akashic record. It's kind of the energy grid that underlies everything that's physical that you can actually see. And if you're putting intention, technically, if you're putting intention into just about anything, it will change the grid. So it might so happen to be water. It might be like the grass that I'm sitting on right now. It might be the tree I'm sitting next to. And so, and like you were saying, you have to notice the very small changes. So if you go out the next day or something, you spent a lot of time in your garden and you were giving really good energy out to all the plants and everything around you. Maybe you go back the next day and you see everything is perked up, and then you have like a lot more butterflies who have come in. And that's changing the etheric grid. Is changing the carbon, I would say. Of course, the water component to everything is in there. So it's the same idea, is that holding the positive intention, holding it as a one point consciousness or 0 point energy. They're kind of similar concepts. You have to have no other stray thoughts. Everything is being applied to that one principle. And I would encourage people to make it a good intention, because if it's not, it will come back and get you. That's how karma always works.
It does. It totally does. And it'll happen again and again and again until we learn our lesson. So reality shifting is not an easy way to escape the work we need to do here on planet Earth. But it definitely has helped me so much that's why we're sharing this information today. So we covered prayer and faith, and we covered the water glass method. Now we're going to talk about the magic diary. So, and this kind of also dovetails off of the last experience where I was moving from being unsuccessful to successful. The magic diary is not a unique idea to me. I think it originally came from the woman who channels for Abraham Hicks. I think she's the one who originally came up with this method. I'm not sure, but this is the method that I used. So I had been living in, and this is within the last 5 years after I did the water experience for shifting reality. I looked around and I went, you know what? I am sick of living in high density housing. I'm just sick of it. And I couldn't really afford to move into a nice big house. I'm a renter, and I just didn't have the resources to buy or to move into a big house, but I wanted to. I was sick and tired of neighbors keeping me awake at night, or their dogs barking or yelling at their kids, which I find, I know probably every parent has done that, but it still is upsetting. And people awake in the middle of the night, and I'm a morning person, so I just can't stand being kept awake all night, that kind of stuff, just tired of it. And also I got an impression from my higher self or my spirit guides that said, Karen, hard times are coming. You need to move into a better neighborhood, and you need to do it now. And I went, okay. And I started looking for places, and I didn't have any success in finding anything. But in the meantime, my son this is just in the last 3 years. This happened just before the thing I can't mention so I don't get kicked off YouTube started to happen with the, And so my son, who's a grown man, he's like almost 40, something happened, and he didn't want to live with the people he was sharing a place with anymore. And he said, Mom, let's share a place together. I went, okay. It wasn't ideal, but it was sort of a stop point. And in the meantime, he started seeing a gal, and this took like a year. And eventually they ended up becoming partners. And she was in an apartment too that she wasn't happy with. And so we all agreed we'd go, the three of us, and we'd share a house in a proper neighborhood. And we started looking, and we just couldn't find anything. And then what's really interesting is I had to deal again with one of my own insecurities, where I had to feel that I was worth living in a proper home, in a proper neighborhood, that I was worthy of having that kind of wonderful environment. And I started thinking about what kind of home I wanted to live in. And that's where the magic diary comes in. What I did was, after much careful thought, I wrote in my magic diary, and I wrote it in past tense as though it had already happened. So go out and buy yourself, doesn't matter if it's something from the dollar store or something that's just cheap that you have or something you've decorated, create a magic diary. In it, write what you want as though it's already happened. That's the key. So I wrote in my magic diary that I found a really comfortable home, that I had a nice big backyard that was private, that was with a nice high fence all around, so I could just have my own magical space. It had a garage on the front, which is what I wanted, because garages in the back tend to get broken into more often. I wanted a big garage to store stuff and put vehicles in, whatever. I wanted it to have 3 bedrooms up and 3 bedrooms down. I wanted it to have 3 bathrooms. I wanted an ensuite in the master bedroom. I wanted an additional full bathroom. I wanted to have a full bathroom downstairs, a kitchenette downstairs, a full kitchen. Anyway, the list goes on and on. I wrote every detail. I wanted the backyard to be south facing so I could have some kind of a garden. It just went on and on and on with the details, and I wrote it as though it had already happened. It wasn't much longer that we heard through a relative of my son's partner that there was a house available in their neighborhood. And we immediately jumped on it. We went, we looked at the house, and we decided we wanted it. So the guy had to do some renos, and he's still doing some renos, but he's just constantly improving the beauty and the functionality of the home that I'm living in. And so this past summer, I was able to have a container garden, and I was able to grow some things in the ground, but I didn't want to mess up the owner's property. And I was able to have cabbage and broccoli and lettuces and sunflowers and calendula flowers, and then medicinal herbs like chamomile and mullein and things like that. And so I just had the best summer. Made a lot of mistakes, but I know for next year, but still that I had my own garden. I wanted a dehydrator, which I ended up getting for free, to dehydrate my vegetables as they became ready, so that I could put away for when food shortages are coming, which I think they might be. But anyway, the point is, I wrote it in every detail as though it had already happened. And then I worked on my own inner work that said, why shouldn't I live in a nice big house? It's big enough that I can maintain it and have all the space I need, but it's small enough that it's easy upkeep. It's just a great, great home. I got 2 living rooms. I call one a family room, one a front room. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. And my son and his partner live in the basement suite, which is also beautiful, just brand new everything down there. And they're here in case I need, a lift to the supermarket, or I need something lifted, or I need help with something. It's just been fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I've been living here now for not quite a year and a half, and it's the happiest I've ever been living in a home. And so it's absolutely uncanny how every single detail of this home was an exact fit for what I wrote, past tense, as though I had already received it in my magic diary. And I've used my magic diary 2 or 3 times for really big, important things. I haven't used it for small things. Sometimes I'm still, old thinking, where I go, I don't want to screw this up, so I'll save it for only really important things. But I'm sure it will work for anybody, anytime. And I highly recommend that people start a magic diary. And the other thing I want to say about this is, it takes time, as we discussed previously, to get that spiral of reality happening. It takes time. And so what I don't want people to do is to go, oh, I'm tired of waiting for whatever it is we're waiting for, and I'm going to wish for something else. And what happens is people screw up their manifestation because they're switching what they want all the time, and they're not sticking with one thing until it comes to fruition, or some kind of reasonable fruition. They're just wanting to just change and change and change. And what happens is the energy starts to build, and then it gets arrested. And then another energy starts to build, and it gets arrested. So that's not how you do it. You got to really think about what you really want, and then write it in your magic diary as though it's already happened. Dave, what are your thoughts on my experience?
Yeah, I agree, Karen. You really gotta maintain the attention, and the attention and the intention for
Yes.
a long periods of time. You want the universe to see that you're serious, that you are consistent, and you're focused. That also I believe tells the universe that you have learned a lesson, potentially, or you're understanding concepts that have been presented to you, so that it's appropriate for you to move on, that you've reached that point. Yeah, I agree with that. And even just the fact that you want to have a quiet mind as much as possible. That's when the most, basically, of everything comes in. You're going to be more relaxed. You'll have more peace. You'll have more manifestation. And of course, there's a very large physiological component to that, which of course I do a lot with in terms of the principles of Eastern medicine, if people are interested in finding better ways to approach that. But even, of course, anything that you're doing that's moving you towards a better state is a good thing, in my opinion. And this is certainly one of them, that you are holding consistent attention and, not flip-flopping back and forth all the time, because that's, it's kind of like, if you don't keep, if you have like a telescope maybe, and you're on a ship and you're trying to sight something in the distance and you're going up and down and side to side and you can't keep it sighted, you're probably not going to stay on course.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a good analogy there, is like, keep it in the sight, whatever that intention is, make sure that you're holding it steady.
Yes. And believe you're worth it. Like, I didn't consider living in a nice, or what I call my dream home, because I don't know, I just got used to living in apartments and high density housing, and I actually had to do some work to release that expectation and replace it with, yes, I'm worth it. And when I get into this, better housing, I'm going to sleep better. I have a nice, quiet neighborhood. Oh my God, it's fantastic. The neighbors keep to themselves, but when you see them, they're super nice. Like, it's just a fantastic setup. I just, dreamed of living like this, but I didn't know I was worth it. So I had to come to the point where I was worth it. Absolutely. And again, this dovetails off of the two water glass, or the water glass method, because that already set me off for success. And then when I did the magic diary, that just added to it. Why not? Why not use all four of the methods that I'm talking about today? Dave, let's do a commercial break, and then we'll come right back, and I'm going to tell everybody the most friggin' amazing experience with shifting reality that I've ever had in my life. Don't skip over this brief commercial break. Dave and I have some important information for you. You may have noticed that participation in our community does not depend on memberships or donations, and we do not hide our episodes behind a paywall. We want everyone to have the opportunity to learn and share our important content with others. Dave and I both offer services which may make your journey more fulfilling, and I offer some products as well. Our sales and services are what provide us with the means to continue our work, as there are many expenses associated with our mission. Check out our offerings to find that which resonates with you to help create a win-win situation. What I mean by that is financial support to help cover our expenses, but also some great products and services to give you that edge that you've been looking for. Check out my online shop, www.karenholtonhealthcoach.com, to find Zendome's orgone generators, comfort crystals, and an array of vital services, all designed to help you to become the change that you wish to see in the world. Now, more than ever, people are awakening to a world we never imagined possible. In response, Dave and I are offering tools, methods, and podcast content to assist you with your awakening process. You are not alone, and there is still much we can do to support our health, emotions, and our spirituality. We both combine ancient wisdoms with cutting-edge technology to help bring comfort to your body, happiness to your mind, and joy to your spirit. To assist you with your life journey, check out my website and find many valuable resources. There's the 9 Steps to Quantum Health Transformation. This is a free, comprehensive online course. Learn about detoxification and nutrition, grounding and spiritual practices, and an advanced version of the Law of Attraction, giving you more of what you really want out of life. I also have my Zendome's Orgonite, which is my unique brand of orgone generators. They're ethically sourced and handmade by a friend of mine, and they're double charged. for maximum effect. I also carry comfort crystals, which is a limited collection of energetically infused semi-precious stones. I have an array of vital services, so you can get the one-on-one support that you've been looking for. Also coaching, guidance, and I do assessments and also workshops. And then again, there are the many free resources available on my website. Wisdom to assist with energetic ascension into physical, mental, and spiritual paradise. Also, check out Dave's services. Dave can teach you about astrology and spiritual concepts, principles of Eastern medicine, birth charts, relationship matching, spiritual guidance, fasting, and his unique approach to health. You can find Dave's services on his Facebook page, Instagram at Dave Petrella 12, and his YouTube channel. The links can be found in the description box below. Let us share our quantum work with you. It's your turn to heal, evolve, and thrive. Believe in your ability to succeed. Now, let's get back to the show. Okay, so what I'm about to tell you is pretty unbelievable, and it is based on science. So I just want to throw that out there. The other three experiences that I shared in the first half of the program were pretty incredible, and I don't expect everyone to just believe me. But what I would love is if you try it for yourselves and see how it goes, and then let Dave and I know in the comments or contact us and let us know how amazing this works for you. So the last, excuse me, category or experience is really achieving time travel through corrupting your own memories. Now, here's where the science comes in. When I went to university, I took quite a bit of sociology and psychology. And in psychology, we were taught that none of our memories are actually real. So if we had something that happened to us, say when we were 3 years old and we sort of remember it, and we carry that with us through our lives, that we had this experience, or, you know, hopefully not too bad, but some of us have some really horrendous shit happen to us in our lives, right? So what happens is every time we think back to that experience and we remember it, we're actually altering it and embellishing it, because we don't have objective memory. We've got feelings and sensations and attitudes. Excuse me, we've got all kinds of programming that interferes with us having accurate recollection, not to mention our perspective, which is only one way of looking at the experience that we're now recollecting. And every time we bring it out, we embellish it. Sometimes we make it even worse, you know, for traumatic events, or sometimes we make it better because we remember this utopian experience or whatever. And we're embellishing it and changing it and enhancing it every time we take a look at our experience. And so I thought about it and I thought, you know what, I can, you know, they talked about it, or they taught us in the class that this was kind of a negative thing. You know, they were referring more to, you know, traumas and bad experiences and phobias and things that we bring up, and then we look at them and we embellish them negatively, and they get kind of worse as we go through time. And I thought, why not use it positively? Why not use it positively? So just to tell you a little bit of my history, I come from a very extremely dysfunctional family. I know what else is new, most of us do. But I was emotionally and physically, sorry, Dave, what?
Well, we
Having trouble hearing you, Dave.
all that by understanding the principles.
sorry, you're not coming through. We're really having trouble, folks, with technical difficulties today. I don't know why. Dave's got full bars, I got full bars, and it's just doing this. So I'll just continue if that's okay, Dave. So anyway, so I had this really troubled relationship with my parents, and especially my mother. And my mother, I just felt that I was completely unimportant to her because she didn't give me affection. She also didn't share her attention with me. So, you know, I'd come home after school and want to tell her something that happened during the day. She'd always be reading the newspaper, and she wouldn't even lift her eyes up, and she'd just kind of go, that's nice. And I knew she didn't hear a word I said. I just wasn't important to my mom. And that really bothered me. There's a whole bunch of other stuff. There's no point in getting into that, but it really bothered me most of my life, where I felt that I was so unimportant to my mother. So I decided to create a memory that was completely false, complete bullshit. But I created it anyway because it made me feel better. And I wanted to feel better. And I didn't want to be resenting my mom. She was getting old. And, you know, I thought, well, at my age, it's a bit ridiculous to be resenting, you know, my mom because she didn't parent me properly. And I know there's a whole bunch of other stuff. Mom was just doing the best she had with the best she could with what she had and all that other jazz. But I created this false memory. And I spent quite a bit of time engineering it and crafting it exactly how I wanted it. So in my memory, when I came home after school, my mom was keenly interested in everything and anything that I had to say. And she would go and get out the teapot, and she'd get out cups and saucers, and she'd make us a little snack. And she'd sit down with me, and she'd be interested in what happened to me during the day. And oh my gosh, it made me feel so good. I decided to make it even better. So then I decided that when I'd had a bad day at school, Mom could always tell. And then she'd get out the good china, and she would get out the good teapot and fancy dishes and make us a nice kind of little extra special snack. And then when I would come home after school and, you know, I'd had a bad day, she always did that to cheer me up. And I just loved it. And I absolutely adopted this false memory because it made me happy. It gave me peace. Okay, this is the part where I always burst out crying because it's so amazing what happened. So here I am practicing this false memory. I know it's false. I know it never happened, but I just did it anyway. One day, about 6 months later, I go to visit my mom. I didn't tell her. I never told anybody about this false memory. It was mine. It was my private, engineered, corrupted memory, and it made me happy. And I wasn't going to share it with anyone. I didn't want anyone saying, no, that never happened or anything like that. So 6 months later, I go to visit my mom, and we're visiting. And all of a sudden, she turns to me and she says, Karen, do you remember the tea parties that we used to have after school? And I was in total shock, sorry guys, I'm an emotional person, you know, it's just how it is. This is just so big. So she actually turned and looked at me very intently and said, do you remember those tea parties we used to have when you came home after school? And I didn't know what to say. I didn't say anything. I just said, yes, Mom. And that was the end of it. But I can't tell you how powerful that was. If that isn't time travel, I don't know what is. I went corrupted my memory of the past, long since past. And my mom remembered it the way I corrupted it without me saying a word to her or anyone else about it. And so I really encourage people, you don't like your past? You think that your life now isn't good because of your past? Go back and change your past. You can do it. You absolutely can do it. And it does such amazing benefits in the now. So do you have any thoughts about that experience of my corrupting my past memories and then my mom remembering what never happened?
Well, yeah, I think it's a really beautiful story, actually. You know, we have the right to create our own reality is actually the baseline of what I want to say about this. And even with astrology, you know, the way I teach it too is that when you're born, you're actually born into your own copy. This is how I teach it. Everything I've seen reinforces this. I mean everything. You're born into your own copy of the solar system, and you're actually the one who is in charge of your copy. And most of us don't ever realize that. So it's all changeable. It's all fluid. It's all bendable. Time travel is always possible. And then since I brought this topic up, I should also mention that there's kind of the background storyline playing out, which kind of we all share on the Earth plane. And then in front of that one, or on top of that one, is the alternate timeline series of events happening in that background story. And then on top of that one is your personal dimension, where you can actually change everything. So it's very, very, very complex. It's very fractal, but it's all quantum physics, and it's all totally possible. And not just with intention, of course, but with cleaning the fluids of your body, you know, practicing principles of Eastern medicine. It's going to make it much, much more enhanced. And it can also eventually get you to the state where you wake up to all of the realities and you actually exist in the top dimension, which I would teach as the 10th dimension, where you find your freedom.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. You know, there is one other thing I did that is similar, but didn't really involve a corrupted memory. When I was a baby, I was hospitalized for a long period of time, and I didn't have any love or warmth or contact with my parents. I actually had polio and spinal meningitis at the same time. I was very, very sick baby. I was only 6 months, and I spent at least 3 months in the hospital in isolation. Anyway, and I know that sort of fucked me up, pardon my language. But what I did was, after I'd started meditating and could get myself into a deep state of meditation, I actually went back in time through my mind's eye, through visualization and sensation internal, and went back to when I was a baby, lying there in the little, I don't know what it was, but kind of like a crib, but more than that. It had, you know, equipment and stuff like that. And I went back and saw myself, and I basically told myself that I loved me, that I was going to be okay, that I would be with my mom again soon. And I just loved myself. And I don't have a clear memory because I was very young at the time, but I have a sensation that myself as a baby saw a sparkling, shiny orb that made me feel like everything was going to be okay. And that's how I think I was able to come out of that experience and still basically thrive, because I went back and I ministered to myself as my younger self, so that I was, so that I would be okay. So that's another thing that I have done that I think is evidence of time travel. And so basically, I think that we are these amazing technologies living in a technological reality, maybe not the way other people are trying to get us to be transhuman and be part of technology or cyborg, not anything like that. I'm talking about in the spiritual realm. I think that we have great power. I think we have great gifts. And so instead of buying into the reality that's given to us on media, whether it's mainstream or social, why not create our own realities? And when we do that, what we're doing is we're contributing to the new positive timeline. We're contributing to a new heaven and a new earth. And we can do that. We have that power. And so what we do is we just draw our attention away from what we don't want. Just forget about it. Doesn't matter what they say, what they do, whatever. And we start focusing on the reality that we want to live in. And I know that we all have a collective reality as well as personal realities, but at the same time, we can still add to a positive timeline, a positive outcome, because there's one thing I think we can all agree on. It may not look exactly the same, but that's bringing paradise back to this planet, bringing paradise back into our lives, having a life that's truly meaningful, where everyone, regardless of where they live or what they think, has a chance for health, has a chance for vitality, has a chance for more than enough food to eat, more than adequate housing, even good, great housing. Our whole society can shift if we just start engineering and constructing the alternative reality that we want to be a part of. And we can even use prayer and faith to get us there. We can use the water glass method to get us there. We can use the magic diary to get us there. And we can corrupt memories that put us in a healthier, happier position so that we can contribute and be a part of the new heaven and the new earth. And we can have it all. And yes, we're that powerful. And I think also that is why the powers that be, who don't want us to know what we're capable of, the powers that be that don't want us to take our power, those that want to hoodwink us and give us a whole fake reality based on some stupid ideas, understand that the so-called elites, which I call the parasite class, I call them that because everything they have has been stolen from us. Well, they don't have any imagination. They don't have the magical powers that we have. They're just sticking to a plan that's very old and very worn out and very rickety and, quite frankly, is falling apart. So now is the perfect time to slide in there. Our creation, we're co-creating with each other, and we're co-creating with the spiritual forces that are supporting us. And so why not work on using the different techniques that I've described in the show today, not only to improve your personal life, but to help bring in a paradise that we can all share in, and that where it's dominated by love and health, and it's the real deal, not the fake bullshit that is being passed off as some kind of science today. No, that science isn't even science. It's religion, and it's a cult, and it's got to be stopped. And there's no better way that I could think of than using these techniques that I've described today. So improve your personal life and improve the world we live in. We can do that. Dave, do you have anything that you want to add? That's pretty much it for me, for my my experiences and what I've discovered and that I've shared with our viewers. And I'm just wondering if you want a few minutes, Dave, to talk about things from your perspective, what you offer people, things like that.
Yeah, I'll just say, whatever you're doing, just take one step forward in a positive way. And I think you'll be pleased with what you find. And like Karen was saying, watch for the signs, watch for the benchmarks to see your progress. But, if you're moving in a positive direction, there's not one way to do it, obviously. And people have all kinds of different ways they're doing it. And as long as it's positive, I pretty much support all of them, as long as it's a positive thing and it's moving you forward. So whether it's, prayer or meditation or just being quiet in the heart and the mind, if you want to take the physiological approach and start maybe doing some yoga, moving the energy through your body, fasting, flushing your fluids out. There's so many ways to do it. But, one of the things that's given me the most hope moving forward is that as long as I'm doing something and I see some kind of improvement, I am overjoyed, Karen.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be the greatest gift like Christmas morning or something. That does happen, not a huge amount, but it definitely happens. But if I see some kind of positive change, I am absolutely elated, because it's showing you that it's working. Whatever you're doing, just take that step. Now, of course, then there's the whole astrology component to this, which is essentially the science of the entire solar system, which, if you really want to get into the reason that things are working the way that they do, that's the approach that I would recommend, of course. So if they're interested in the astrology part, obviously send me a message, let me know. I'd be happy to help you with that. Principles of Eastern medicine, let me know. I'll be happy to help you with that. And of course, any kind of spiritual topic, if you just want to talk about things or try to find direction. And Karen's very good at doing that as well. So just let us know, guys.
Yep, we're here for ourselves and we're here for you. So well said, Dave. Thank you so much. So I guess that's about it for today. I do have a little bit of an announcement, and that is that Facebook, which is also Messenger, is heavily targeting my shares and my material. They're removing my shows. They are kicking me out of Facebook twice a week. They're claiming that my cell phone and my tablet have been stolen or being used by someone else without my knowledge, and that they're protecting me by not allowing me to log back in. And it's all bullshit. I have my phone with me all the time. My tablet sits in a drawer. There's nobody here. There's no one living upstairs with me. And my son and his partner certainly wouldn't be doing that. And so I don't even know what it's about. I don't know, but they've just been removing the Quantum Guide show as well as Aliens and Astrology. And they claim that I'm spamming people and that I'm doing all these bad things that I'm just not doing. And also, I truly believe that Facebook is now being completely controlled by AI and bots, because you can't talk to anybody, you can't reach out. I've sent emails, I've done everything I can to try to straighten this out, and now I've just given up. So I am available on Telegram. I am available on Signal. I am available on, of course, through YouTube, and of course through my website, KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com, where you can always get a hold of me there. And so if you, can't find my show, or you're having problems contacting me, that might be why. And I'm only able to use my computer to reset and get back into Facebook. And I'm going to be actually out of town for a couple of weeks and will not be taking my computer with me. So I don't know. We'll see. I'll get this this podcast up on YouTube and distribute it as much as I can today before I go. But if that happens, that's why. And you can always find me under Karen Holton TV, which is on my YouTube channel, my Odyssey, and my Telegram. Dave, why don't you just quickly, for the people that are listening to the audio only of this podcast, tell people where they can find you as well.
Yeah, sure. If you guys want to contact me, Facebook's probably the best way, under Dave Petrella. And you can do my YouTube channel. I leave my emails on that if you want to send me an email. Of course, I've got all my videos up there, and Instagram is Dave Petrella 12.
Perfect. Now, all the links will be in the description below, so please do check them out. And I guess that's it for the show today. And I just want to thank you all for joining us. Please subscribe and leave us a comment. Tell us what you think about the show, or if you have any thoughts from the show, please do share them with us, and of course with the audience. And thank you, Dave, for taking the time out of your traveling and research to join me on the program today. Now, Dave is a constant feature to the Aliens and Astrology program. He brings the astrology aspect, and I bring my sort of psycho-spiritual alien angel perspective to the table. And we just love doing these shows for you, and we hope you're really getting something good out of it. So thank you so much, Dave, and thank you everybody else. Oh, one other announcement is starting next month, Dave and I will be doing at least 2 aliens and astrology podcasts per month. So it will be every second week. Oh, sorry about that. My throat's getting a bit sore from talking. Anyway, we're sending you much love, much light, much success. Please do practice the things that I've talked about today and see for yourself. And we'll be back, I think, the second week in October with more from the Aliens and Astrology show. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thanks, everyone. Nice, Karen.
Thank you for joining Dave and I for the Aliens and Astrology show. Become the change you want to see in the world. Subscribe to our YouTube channels, click the like button, and share this show with your friends. Check out Karen's website at KarenHoltonHealthCoach.com. All the links will be in the description box below. Until the next time, keep up the good work.
Well, you challenge my perception. I shift uneasily as I try to justify how I value your suggestions. Ideas full of life when I'm empty of my own. And 5 minutes before I was okay, now the curtain drops to the floor. Leaves me weak and begging for more. When I think I get it, it flutters and vanishes away.